Good day. I'm Menachem Avichael for Trust in Hashem. Today, the 8th day of May in the year 2026 by the Gregorian calendar, and the 21st of Iyar in the year 5786 by the Torah calendar. It's also the 26th day of the Omer. Today we're going to be covering a double Parsha, Parsha Behar and Bechukotai. I want to start out with a line that's in the Torah that has a tremendous meaning for the free world. It's in chapter 25, verse 10. And the line says, "Proclaim liberty throughout the land for all the inhabitants thereof." For those of you that are not familiar with a little building known as Independence Hall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, city where I grew up, there's a little metal thing there called the Liberty Bell. And that line from the Torah is engraved in that bell. And it was commissioned, this bell was commissioned in 1751, before the Declaration of Independence was even written by Thomas Jefferson. America is the second covenant that's ever taken place, as far as I know, in the entire creation. The first one, obviously, was Am Yisrael, the nation of Israel, done at Mount Sinai. There were other covenants before that. Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, they had a covenant with Hashem, mainly Brit Milah, circumcision. However, at Mount Sinai, something else took place. An entire nation made a covenant with Hashem to not just uphold his laws, his ways that he wanted us to live by, but to try to have other people emulate those ways by taking them out into the world, not forcing people to convert. That, as you well know, you don't ever see that in Torah Judaism. You don't see the Jewish people going out trying to force people to become Jewish. In fact, we try to talk you out of it if you try to come in. Not like some people where they actually decide, well, you have to do this or we'll kill you. That's not God's way, I can assure you. So let's go to chapter 25, verse 19. And there it says, "Dwell on it securely. And then again it's repeated in Bechukotai in chapter 26. We go to verse 1, right? And it says that it starts out, "If you accept the authority of my laws and keep my commandments and execute them." And then if we go to 26, line 5, again it's repeated. "Dwell securely in your land." See, it's only Am Yisrael's land if they do line 1, accept Hashem's authority, Hashem's laws, keep Hashem's commandments, to execute Hashem's ways. There's a big difference between man-made laws and Hashem's laws. Hashem's law were given by Hashem, obviously. Man's laws are made up things, made up ideas that people say, "Oh, I think this sounds good." Well, most of the time it only causes havoc and trouble, especially if it's not in line with Hashem's way of life that we should be living. In going back to Behar, in 25:23, Hashem tells us, "Do not sell the land in perpetuity, for the land is mine." Now, I've said this before, but it's worth repeating. The land actually doesn't belong to the Jewish people. It doesn't belong to anybody. It belongs to Hashem, to God. And God says, excuse me, and Hashem, God says that the only people that this land will give its fruit to is Am Yisrael, the nation of Israel. The people that go against Hashem's word are people that will, in time, be wiped out, like Pharaoh, like the Greek Empire that was, like the Roman Empire that was, like, well, at this point, like Britain that was. Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States, he's trying to make sure that the United States survives this. He understands the land belongs to Am Yisrael, the nation of Israel. In fact, he believes it so much that he sent the one person he knows that will never falter on that, Mike Huckabee, to be his ambassador here in Israel. Today, we're faced with a big problem here in Israel. The other day I spoke about how if the Jewish people would do two things, the entire world would not be able to touch us. They wouldn't be able to do anything against us. And what were those two things? Keep 2 Shabbases in a row. Well, that's true, but a friend of mine reminded me that that's actually only good outside of Israel. Inside of Israel, there are 3 things that Am Yisrael needs to do. The first 2, keep 2 Shabbases in a row. But the third one is actually the single most important one to do. Even if we don't keep Shabbos, the one I'm about to say is more important than anything else. And that's for one Jew never to do or talk against another Jew. You know, when the northern tribes broke away from the southern tribes after Solomon passed on, a little tussle between us within Israel, and the northern tribes broke away, for 150 years, none of the outside nations that were around them could touch them. Because they were so strong? No. They were actually doing idol worship. They set up a base. They set up an altar in the north. It's against the law. Once the temple was built, that's it. There can't be another place where sacrifices go on other than in Jerusalem, on the Temple Mount, in the temple. That's it. Nowhere else. They were doing that, but they never spoke against each other. It was only after approximately 150 to 200 years they started bickering amongst each other. And next thing you know, the 2.5 tribes on the east side of the Jordan, gone. And then the tribes north of Yehuda, Shimon, and Binyamin, the 3 tribes that stayed in the south, that part of still connected with the original temple, the ones north of them, the ones that were left, they were taken away too. If no commandments were kept by any of the Jewish people throughout the entire world, I mean none. Nobody kept kosher, nobody kept the Shabbos. But no Jew ever talked against another Jew or didn't do something against another Jew. There isn't anybody in the world, all the nations combined in the world would not be able to harm us. I'm Menachem Avichael for Trust in Hashem. Thank you. Have a good Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom.